Are you ever in the middle of listening to a song or watching a TV show/movie where the feels just hit you? I'm talking about feeling forced to close your eyes and sway to the beat as melody coats every inch of your body. Or watching a scene so impactful, it swells your heart to the point you feel it might actually burst. You can even get this from having an easy, free-flowing conversation with a person you like, where hours are lost to the depths of your dialogue. This is a phenomenon known as vibing. What does it mean to vibe? I've always likened it to the abstract, a not so simple to define feeling of connection to some form of art. Maybe not overtly positive or negative in nature, but for certain a feeling of resonance. There's something that I'm hearing, watching, or doing that is putting me into an active trance-like state where all I'm concerned with is that thing. While this sounds a little like the flow state, a similar resonance-based state, also referred to as the zone, vibing to me is a reaction to an external stimulus. Skate Story is a vibe. It's a dimly lit, pseudo-philosophical skateboarding game from Sam Eng, with a punchy electronic soundscape from the band Blood Cultures. You take control of a nameless demon in the underworld who signs a contract with the devil to release you should you skate through several layers of hell and devour each of their moons. You are a demon made of glass and pain, and yet you must skate. Skate through the underworld and devour every moon. The poetry of the game's premise distracts from its absurdity. The framework of the underworld is presented as a matter of fact. Demons exist in sleepless purgatory because the moons annoy them for one reason or another. The strange denizens include rabbits made of light, marble busts of unknown philosophers, skeletons, and various squishy animal-like creatures that give you silly quests like buying Arizona iced teas or doing sentient laundry. If you stop long enough to ask questions about any of it, you'll miss that the game has already provided you with the answer. Who cares? Skate Story is not about plot lines or characters. It's about vibes. Creating a game with the potential to vibe with is not an easy thing to get right. I've played my share of overly pretentious art house indie games that attempt to convey deep emotional beats through narrative, artwork, or gameplay, but completely missed the mark by failing to connect either some or all of those aspects with me as the player. Since games usually combine a number of media stimuli into a complete package, it's especially tricky to get each portion to complement every other. Sea of Solitude, for example, had an emotionally weighty soundtrack and fantastically abstract representations of all its characters, but hung everything on the mundane scenario of a breakup about as deep as a flooded basement. I mean, of course, I've dealt with breakups before, and I should be able to relate. But Sea of Solitude presents the concepts of breakups or loneliness as gut punches by themselves, without any further commentary on them. This left me feeling apathetic to its climax, despite the amazing music in the background. In contrast, Genesis Noir, a game that feels every bit as pretentious as Sea of Solitude, and even mirrors its surface-level fantastical representation of participants in a breakup, actually lands exceptionally well. Its breakup scenario wasn't just more interesting, somebody gets shot, but it serves as a backdrop for an entirely different story. The story of mankind's evolution through history and via psychedelic visuals and tactile sound design conveys the beauty of man's ability to create. I know, it's super wank, but it works. At the game's conclusion, it forces you to weigh mankind itself against the relationship you're about to lose, and the final moments of that experience were an audiovisual explosion that has stuck with me to this day. The obscurity of meaning in a vibe game's plot has to leave enough room for a couple of interpretations without feeling meaningless altogether, or just mean exactly what it says and have that matter to the player. I still can't tell you with any level of confidence that Skate Story is about anything other than a demon skating his way to moon dinners. But if that's all it is, that weird premise is a solid enough thread to anchor a very dreamlike world and goal. It also helps that the skateboarding gameplay, the surreal visuals, and the transcendent music are perfect complements to each other, which invoke that vibe reaction in me literally every time I play. Skate Story is a legit skateboarding game, yet it doesn't borrow many mechanics from any existing skating game that I've played. It uses dedicated buttons for specific tricks and double presses for modified or advanced versions of said tricks. It's not overly complex, but works really well. You'll bounce between open hub areas with random challenges and quests from quirky NPCs that may ask you to perform certain tricks in certain places or rack up high scores using combos. You can choose to ignore these extra challenges, but these areas are the most laid back and forgiving sections of the game. Your main missions are goofy exploratory tasks that both amuse and confound. For example, early on you're asked to explore the liminal space inside a trash bin to retrieve a Metro card for the train. These will both teach you new skate techniques and test your skill with old ones. Once you satisfy those conditions, trickier gauntlets of platforming challenges line your path to spectacular showdowns with each moon. Jumping over flames and dodging lightning bolts while trying to land a combo under a moon's shadow was an exhilarating highlight in particular. With Blood Culture's Empty Lands blaring in the background, that section solidified Skate Story's status as a vibe. I've been holding the experience in my head ever since, replaying the song and the soundtrack in general everywhere I go, seeing ledges and rails to grind on while out and about as if I was a skater myself, and craving a return to my office to sit down and lose myself in Skate Story's atmosphere. A game you vibe with doesn't have to be a visceral experience. It can be calming and laid back, or even tense and harrowing. What's essential is that it's all-consuming. It can feel transportive and meditative. It can make you ponder deep philosophical truths or empty your mind entirely. To vibe with a game, or art, or anything for that matter, is to connect a piece of yourself with something outside of it. And people can always use a little more of that in their lives.